Hello, I'm Eric Anderson with Adobe, and I am here with Seth Solomons, CEO of Wunderman North America, and we're broadcasting live from the Summit tank here at Adobe Summit 2017. Seth, thanks for joining us.
You got it, Eric.
All right,
How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Could you give our audience a brief overview of Wunderman?
Yeah, I would say we are the best representation of a modern digital agency. So we've got communications and experiences at the core, but we've also got data, analytics and insights, and very strong acumen on the platform side, both marketing automation and database platforms. So the best of Wunderman is when all three of those come together.
So how would you differentiate from other agencies or competitors who have similar language?
So we compete pretty aggressively with a pretty diverse set of agencies. So we've got, on the core digital agency side, we've got the Razorfishes, the Digitas, RGA, AKQA, but on the data analytics and insights side, we also compete pretty heavily with some of the consulting companies, Accenture, Deloitte, some of the more direct-oriented wraps of the world, and then on the platform side, again, competing with Deloitte Digital, Accenture Interactive, even IBM to some extent. So it's a pretty diverse set of competitors, and on any given day, you know, we may have 3 or 4 different pitches going on with a different set of focus in each of them.
Right, and that really reflects, I think, how the industry is changing. All of these expertises and capabilities in-house at Wunderman that touches all of these different kinds of agencies and competitors.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. I talk about this move from generalist to specialist. I think there's a lot of traditional agencies, and even some of the early digital agencies, were born out of more of a generalist orientation. You're sort of solving a TV question or a print question or an out-of-home question, even a digital marketing website or digital marketing. Today you've got to have specialists at that table. You've got to have people who understand industry-specific analytics, people who understand how to take an Adobe campaign, target, analytics, AEM, how you integrate that on behalf of a client, connect it to a data layer. So unless you've got the right people with specialist skill sets at that table, it's really hard to keep up with the client request.
Well, we've talked a little bit about industry change, and with this industry being so dynamic, what's the area of focus for Wunderman in 2017?
So we talk a little bit about trying to be our clients' most trusted marketing partner. And that trust is sort of born out of adding value and delivering regardless of what the requirement might be or the request might be. We spend a lot of time helping clients understand what the bigger business issues they have or challenges they have. We've got a global process that we call collision. Core to that process is something that we call a reframe. So we get a lot of briefs from different clients in different industries. The first thing we try to do is reframe the question that they ask to make sure that we're actually helping them answer the biggest question and identify the biggest opportunity for either incremental growth, add different value for the consumer, across channels and over time. So it comes down to adding value and building trust for us.
Okay, and these problems and challenges that customers are coming to you with, you see any big themes that are emerging?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think every brand is trying to be more valuable to their consumers, and we call this sort of a switch from brands trying to find loyal customers to brands acting more like loyal brands. If you look at some of the most progressive brands, if you look at a Starbucks, if you look at Uber's value proposition, you look at Warby Parker, these are brands that are orienting themselves on delivering for the consumer, as opposed to hoping that the consumer will continue to deliver for them, and then they can show their loyalty by giving them promotions or other things. That subtle but profound shift for us, we call wantedness. And so we just did a study in the UK and the US to try to get our arms around this notion of what people expect from today's brands, which we are saying need to be loyal to the consumer as opposed to hoping the consumer is loyal to you.
So how do brands keep up with these expectations that people are putting on them?
First and foremost, you got to really be in the business of wanting to understand what people want, and then doing everything you can to actually solve their problem, almost regardless of the business or infrastructure that you may have in place. If you look at, again, companies that are taking away friction, making it easier for the consumer to get where they want,
Right.
adding a personalization layer so that we know where they've been, where they might want to go, and help them get there as seamlessly as possible. The brands that actually actively disrupt themselves by making it an easier customer experience are going to be the brands that win. If you look at, take a brand like T-Mobile. It's a client of ours. John Ledger, I think, is brilliantly trying to pivot the company from being an uncarrier as a marketing campaign, to being the uncarrier as a business strategy. Everything T-Mobile does is to make the customer experience inside of that relationship a better relationship for the consumer.
Right, and I love how you talked about that, because it's got to be more than marketing, right?
Yeah, I think if it's a marketing layer alone, then I think the consumer will go find someplace else, because if the experience is bad, if they don't understand the payment plan or the contract or non-contract, then ultimately their loyalty is going to be challenged over time.
Right. Well, where can our audience find out more about your study on wantedness?
Yeah, so they can go to wantedness.com.
Wantedness.com.
Wantedness.com, and yeah, we've got all of the information. It's really interesting because we did 1,000 people, we talked to 1,000 people in the US and 1,000 people in the UK, and most surprising was the fact that the findings were non-generational, so boomers, very similar to millennials, which I think would be surprising to many people. Non-gender, not economically specific, and not specifically different between the US and the UK.
So that sounds like you've really tapped into some fundamental needs.
I think that's a great way to put it, because what we're seeing is that people, mainly driven by, I think, a millennial mindset, which was sort of all about take care of me, is profoundly changing everything. Right. So I like to tell a story about my 76-year-old mother, who gets in her car every morning, orders her coffee on her Starbucks app, drives over to Starbucks, picks up the coffee, walks out, seamlessly gets her star points, pays, doesn't have to wait behind somebody who's ordering a triple decaf venti latte of whatever sorts, and she's 76. Her expectations as it relates to hotel service, airline service, insurance service, the financial service company she deals with is profoundly changed forever.
Right, and our audience can find more about that at wantedness.com.
Yes, wantedness.com.
Fantastic. Well, Seth, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Eric, for having me.
All right, well, I'm Eric Anderson signing off from the Summit Tank, and please stay tuned for more interviews from experienced business experts like Seth Solomons, CEO, Wunderman North America. Thank you. Awesome. That was fantastic.